What is up, everybody? It is your boy, Pigskin Pete. Clemson escapes Death Valley with yet another narrow victory over an unranked opponent. There was some good, there was some bad, and there was some ugly. We'll talk about all three of those things right after the bumper. Well, since there has been plenty of bad and ugly to go around this season for this football team, I figured we'll start out by talking about the good. Finally, first and foremost, the worst position group on the team so far, the offensive line, actually played pretty well, and Clemson was able to manufacture their best offensive performance yardage-wise, 438 yards. They were able to run block and pass protect much better than we've seen them do all season long. Now, after Will Shipley's injury and Lyn-J Dixon entering the transfer portal, they moved up Kobe Pace to running back 1, and Pace showed out in this game. 19 carries for 125 yards and a touchdown. But the story of the night for Clemson fans was this man right here, Phil Mafah, a true freshman. Now, the plan for Phil Mafah before Shipley got hurt and Lyn-J Dixon decided to transfer was to redshirt him. Now, Coach Sweeney and Tony Elliott really had no choice other than to call him up from redshirt. And if what we saw on Saturday night is any indication of what he's going to look like for the remainder of this season, as well as the next few years at Clemson, there's a lot to be excited about. He's got size, he's got speed, and he has lateral moves that I don't think we've seen at this position in Clemson since C.J. Spiller. He really was hot all night long. He only had 7 carries for 58 yards, but man, he looked great. The other good news offensively is a couple of receivers really stepped up and showed out. First and foremost, our best receiver all season long, really, Joe Ngata, had 4 receptions for 111 yards. That's 27.8 yards per reception. Now, he did have one bad drop towards the end of the game. That would have helped DJ's stats out a little bit more. But all in all, he was the bright spot in the receiving corps Saturday night. Some other good news for Clemson fans. We finally got to see E.J. Williams, a guy who coming into this season we all thought was going to be an absolute star on this offense. For whatever reason, they haven't been able to get him the ball the first 4 weeks. But they found a way to get him the ball on Saturday night. 3 receptions for 30 yards doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it's better than what he's been doing for the first 4 games. And last but not least, for the good, Andrew Booth has emerged as one of the best defensive players in the entire country. The man is a tackling machine. Against Boston College, he had 8 total tackles. 7 of those were solo and 1 tackle for loss. A couple of those were open field tackles that if he didn't make the tackle, Boston College most likely gets a touchdown. After the game, Brent Venables said there is no better tackler in all of college football. And I think I would have to agree. Now on to the bad. Although Clemson put on their best offensive performance of the season yardage-wise, aside from 2 big passing plays downfield, of which accounted for 35% of Clemson's total passing offense, the short and intermediate passing game continues to be abysmal. DJ Uiagalelei was just 13 of 28 for 207 yards, which is a 46% completion percentage, and is dead last in the ACC. However, he did make up for it in the quarterback run game, so I will give him credit for that. You know, in the first 4 games, we were able to blame the terrible offensive line play and pass blocking for some of DJ's struggles. You really can't do that in this game. There were several plays where he had plenty of time, had wide open receivers, and just overthrew them by 5 and 10 yards. 2 passes I can think of in particular that would have been 6 points if he didn't overthrow them so bad. Now, last and not least on the bad list for Saturday night's game is the continued criticism of this man here, Tony Elliott. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. The offensive play calling for the most part did seem a little bit more creative. You know, they weren't running the same 10 plays over and over again like they were earlier in the season. And it seems that he has reinstalled the quarterback run game that this offense has been built off of for the last decade or so. However, for whatever reason that nobody other than Tony Elliott can figure out, on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 situations with a 6'5", 250-pound quarterback, he continues to call a designed quarterback run out of the shotgun. Now, I'm no coach, and according to half of the people in my comment sections, I have no clue what I'm talking about. But if you can't get 1 yard with a quarterback that size from under center, then you've got some serious problems. And now we'll move on to the ugly, not only for this game, but for the entire season, really. The injuries continue to pile up, and not just for role players, but for some of the most important players at the most important positions that this team needs right now. 3 significant injuries on Saturday night's game. First of all was Will Taylor. I think that was a knee injury. Justin Ross and Brandon Galloway. I still don't know the status on them. I believe they were head injuries, or they were taken out of the game after being hit in the head. By the time this video is uploaded and posted to YouTube, maybe there will be more information out that somebody else already knows. But as far as I know, I'm assuming these guys are in concussion protocol, but I'm not sure. And of course, with the spinal condition that our boy Justin Ross here has, anything to the head or neck area is concerning for him for obvious reasons. Well, I don't want it to appear as if I'm crying into my Cheerios about injuries, because every single college football team deals with injuries every single year. But for whatever reason, the injury bug seems to have bit Clemson even harder than usual. Injuries are a part of the game. They happen. But I do know that some fans are blaming some of these injuries, particularly on the defensive side of the football, on offensive struggles. You can't have a defensive unit out on the field for 3/4 of a football game and expect these players to stay healthy. Not even a team with the depth that Clemson has, or should I say had, because the majority of their depth at this point is sitting on the sideline in street clothes. Anyway, Clemson finds a way to win the football game, and at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. We're now 6 weeks into the season, and we know who this football team is, and what this football team is. And what this football team is a work in progress. Now, the Tigers have a bye week this week, and then face the Syracuse Orangemen the following week. Hopefully, they can use some of this time off to heal up a little bit and get better offensively. Well, that's going to be it for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Your boy, Pigskin Pete, is checking out.